Welcome to the Women in Wealth podcast, brought to you by Regina McCann-Hess, a certified financial planner with over 2 decades of experience. This show is for professional women who want guidance in working towards their retirement vision in learning, building, planning, striving for your dreams, and putting the work in now so that you can pursue your financial independence. Hello, I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management, and welcome to our Women in Wealth show. I have a new friend with me, and Mazie, can you tell us who you are, what you do, and what you love about what you do?
Thank you, Regina. It's so nice to be with you. So yeah, I'm Mazie Minehart Colen, and I'm a leadership coach. And what that means is I've spent the past 30 years or so working with leaders, individuals, and organizations, get a little bit better, identify what success looks like for them, and go after it. So right now, I'm primarily working at the executive level. So I'm working with senior leaders and mostly people that are really doing a good job, doing really well. But I help them identify very clearly what success looks like for themselves and their organizations. And then we take actionable steps, create a roadmap for how to get there. So what I love about this is that I get to help individuals really be clear about what that unique success looks like, because there's so many definitions of success right now from social media. We get distracted with financial elements of success, which I know is your area of expertise. But when we look at our whole lives, we as individuals, we have so many attributes that we can be looking at. And over time, there's a lot of transitions that happen in life. And I think sometimes we have one definition of like, I want to be at the top of my company, and we climb that corporate ladder. And then when you get there, sometimes you're like, wait, I forgot to be focused on a few things. So looking at what success looks like for each individual is so energizing and exciting for me. So that's what I'm most like about what I do.
Yeah, and you made a great point. It's not all about the financial or getting to the top, or although we think it is, and then we get there and we realize, oh crap, we missed all these other things along the way. And one of the things I talk to people about in retirement or preparing for retirement, it's not just the financial side. It's like, who are you going to have lunch with, so that you're not isolated. What are you going to do? Who's going to change your light bulbs? Things like that,
Nice.
what are your visions and values? What are you going to do? How are you going to recreate yourself in retirement? Because you actually mentioned in your book, it's not going to show up on my screen. Maybe you can hold, your book is in your corner there. It's called Accelerate Your Success. Let's go. A coaching guide to discovering what's next and pursuing it. So you do mention that in your book, about, focusing on not just like being pigeonholed essentially, and focusing on bigger things as well. So you'll do a better job than I would. So tell us a little bit about your book.
Well, Regina, thank you so much for bringing this up. I'm very excited because I did spend some time writing down my whole coaching process. And the reason I wrote the book was I mentioned I'm an executive coach. So I work with usually very successful leaders. And that leaves out people that can't work with a coach for many different reasons. I find that, my neighbors were looking to get time with me, my friends of family, people are saying, hey, can you help me? And I wanted to give a resource to everybody and put a roadmap in people's hands. So that's why I wrote the book. So when you talk about how are you going to be spending your time in retirement, this is an amazing question. Who's going to be helping you? Who's going to be changing your light bulbs? Who are you going to have lunch with? This is taking that holistic view, and that's something that I was trying to get after in my book. When we define success, we have to look at success in all the areas of our life, right? So our relationships and our health, and looking at, of course, the career and financial components. And that's where my space, I'm a career coach. I work in business. But sometimes we have such strength in an area that we might have a blind spot in another, and we leave that to go with not as much attention. And so even the most successful people at the top of the organization might look around and say, hey, I have some areas of my life and that I haven't really attended to, and that comes through in relationships and health most often that I see. So the whole point of writing my book was to give people a roadmap give people the tools to take a holistic look and then really identify, what they want to be doing with their time, what brings them energy, what do they like most, what do they not like, what are they avoiding, and get clarity so that we can use that as a springboard for defining what's next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is fantastic. I mean, knowing the foundation
Yes.
before you spring off that board, essentially, is
Yes.
a great way to approach it.
Yes. So you mentioned the foundation, and my process that I go through with every single client starts the same. We identify, first of all, why'd you call? How can I help? But we get very clear, first off, with the why. So what is the presenting problem that we're looking at? And 9 times out of 10, the very first presenting problem is not really the essential thing we're going to be working on. It's a symptom of something else. So we'll start with why, the why, but we do a whole discovery process to look at what do we really want in our lives. We look at, all the elements of our values. And I know you do this in your financial planning as well. What really drives us, what anchors us, what's most important to us. We look at what we're good at, because sometimes I work with professionals that are so good at what they do professionally that they keep being aligned, with the next job in that, and the next job and the next job. And they get very focused on one component of their abilities. And then we miss out on developing other areas of expertise. So doing the discovery process and taking that time, what you just mentioned, with looking through our current state and where we really desire to be is so important. It's a business approach as well, looking at a company, what's going well, what's the starting point, and what's your vision for your future point. It's a retirement planning strategy too. So this is all common sense, but the process of doing it is not that common. The commitment and discipline to walking through and getting this real clear picture of where you're starting and where you really want to go, what success looks like, is uncommon. I think people sometimes flail around when they're in discomfort. They'll be in a job that they don't like, or they'll have a boss that they don't like, or they'll be in a position in a marriage that they're like, I don't know if I want to leave this or not. You talk a lot about that from a financial point of view. And we look for easy out. Instead of looking inside, we look outside ourselves, right? We'll say, oh, if I just had a different job, I think that this would be easier. And oftentimes I'll get people asking me, can you look at my LinkedIn? What do you think for this next job? I'm teed up to be the CEO of the company, and that's what's next for me. So I need to just go after it and put my blinders on. And I'll say, hold on a minute. If you get that next step and that is success, great. Is that really what is going to bring you more in line with your values? Is that going to help you balance out all the priorities in your life? Because sometimes we're just drawn to other people's definition of what that next step is or what success is, instead of looking inside first. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, it does, because I was just thinking that correlates exactly to my visions and values conversation with people when we're doing financial planning about their future. I mean, does what we're doing line up with your visions and values? And if it doesn't, we shouldn't be doing it.
Right. Exactly. What's the point? So I think that having that discipline, and Regina, it's really nice when you have somebody to have a dialogue about this with, because I'm sure you bring to your clients that beautiful collaborative conversation, because you make them say out loud things that they haven't really thought about, right? So even what you just walked me through, which is in retirement, who are you having lunch with? How are you spending your time? Who's helping you if you need help? The beauty of being an executive coach is I get to have those conversations with my clients and be a trusted advisor. And a lot of times when you're at the top of the organization, there's not a safe person for you to be sharing your fears with, some of the areas that you're concerned about. You're not able to get honest feedback from a lot of people around you, because that's not really their job. Somebody on your team telling you what, that honest feedback. So that's what I've been focused on for my career, being a sounding board, being that person to help with your journey. And that's why I wrote the book. The book is really a step-by-step guide to help you in your journey to finding what is next. And when I say what's next, I really mean that, in each transition, especially as women, we have all these inflection points. We jump out of many times college and say, okay, I'm going to start my career. And then many of us are fortunate enough to be able to then have children at some point in our careers. Some people don't. A lot of my clients don't have kids, but you have that decision to make. Am I going to have kids and pursue that, or am I not? Um, and once you have kids, then you have a decision of, am I going to be a stay-at-home mom? Am I going to be a working mom? Am I going to work full-time, part-time? And then another inflection point of, do I jump back in the workforce full force? And I know that you see this all the time in what you do. Those career interruptions are
Mm.
times when people sometimes have those, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do next. I'm a little bit concerned. I'm making the right choices, go into a tailspin. And that's when I find that having a path forward and having a plan is most helpful, right? Let's look at the basics. Remember, let's look at what we value. Let's identify our roles in life. Let's identify what we're good at, find where our energy is, best, and then go from there. So take
Abs-
inventory and looking inward first really helps those transition points to then make your next move.
yeah, for sure. Now, where can people buy your book?
Oh, thanks for asking. Right now on Amazon. So
Yes.
Amazon's the place. I wanted to get this in people's hands quickly, so it's available through Amazon, and it's called Accelerate Your Success, Let's Go. The Let's Go title has been something I'm really passionate about because I'm a coach. And I played sports. I actually coached all my kids' sports as well. So, I'm on the sidelines, let's go. But one of my clients brought me to the Accelerate Your Success. He said, I would be going this way, but I got there a lot faster because you helped me accelerate, being clear about what I'm going after, taking away some of the noise, having a path forward. And I just love that. So Accelerate Your Success. Let's go. Find it on Amazon.
I love it. I love it. And when I saw Let's Go, I like literally think of my son. He's a senior in college this year.
Yay.
And anytime we're about like he's about to go out and do something fun, it's like, let's go, like right before the game, let's go.
That's so
So
true.
fun. So
It's
fun. So I love that it's in the title.
great. I have two kids as well. I know you have three kids, but my kids are college age and they definitely say, let's go very often. And I wanted to give them a tool, like
Yeah.
I'm at a point in my career where I've had a lot of really nice accolades and professional success. My clients have been really generous in giving me some feedback and some, thanks. And I wanted to give my kids a tool. And I found when my daughter was graduating, everybody's wondering like, what should I be doing? What's my career? There's a lot of young women freaking out because they didn't know what the right path could be. And I am trying to help people see you don't have to figure it all out today. Just figure out what you like, do more of that, figure out what you don't like, do less of that, and get yourself on a path towards your future. And as your life unfolds, you have decision making points along the way. You don't have to figure it all out from day one.
Right.
So I love working with this younger energy of recent graduates or people who've been in the workforce in their first job and they're like, I hate this. This is not what I thought it was going to be. And help them, through writing this book. I'm trying to help people get to that next step and take that inventory. It's really fun to work with senior executives who are looking to retire because they've been wildly successful. But it's also really fun to work with people along these life transitions and get to be part of that. I have two clients right now that are expecting babies, and it's just so fun to be figuring out what's next for them and their
Yeah.
lives.
Oh
So,
my gosh, that's a lot of change.
right.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I love it. And I definitely love the book. I think everybody should get it. And, I love the 4Ds that you talk about. I mean, there's so many good items in this book. I also love, because I have that nursing background. I love that you brought in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I was like, oh my God, it's still a thing. It's still a thing. I love it.
Honestly, thank you for saying that because, Regina, I really have put in so many tools in this book that have been helpful to people that I've worked with along the way. And you mentioned Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We got to think about food and shelter first.
Yeah.
And you're starting out and you're finishing up college and you need to pay your rent and buy your own food on your own budget. These are the basic needs. We don't have to talk
Yeah.
about being so self-actualized and having the perfect career that aligns completely with our purpose in life, right? We need to start at the basics. So I have so many tools that I've shared over the years with my clients, and I used to just hand out books. Oh, Stephen Covey, you should read this book. Oh, you should really look at, you know, any of these powerful authors with wonderful messages. And you'll see in the back of my book that I have listed so many different authors, people talking about happiness or purpose and mindfulness and health. I have so many resources, and that's how I do my coaching. I'm not the expert on you. You're the expert on you. But I've been doing this for so many years that I have a lot of resources at my disposal. So the whole point of putting them in one place is to make it easy for people to just get started.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. So if people want to learn more about you and, to find out if you would be somebody that you guys could work together, where
Yes.
would they go to find out more information about you?
Thank you for asking. I I have really kept a low profile online. Like I have a very basic website, maziecolen.com. I have, my presence on LinkedIn is pretty basic. And that is because I've been working with executives that I really have been under the radar. It's really not about me. My work has never been about me. And self promotion is a little unusual for me. But you can find me on Amazon with this book. You can find me on LinkedIn. I would love it if you can give this book as a resource to somebody in your life who's struggling that might not know what's next for them. And in my book, I actually have my contact information. You can email me directly. So please feel free to do that. I want to reach as many people as I can, but I do spend my day job working with senior executives. So I wanted to have this tool so that everybody can have a few steps in their hands. And if you're asking me, like, what's the best way to summarize things and get going, I would say, like, my first thing would be to not skip this discovery process, which is, where are you now? Like, what do you like? Take that inventory. Don't start with somebody's LinkedIn job posting and say, can I fit into that? I have so many people that come to me and say, oh, do you think I'm ready for this? Or does this sound like me? Is this a good job for me? Or can you look at my resume? Instead of looking externally for what you think should be next, look internally and do that discovery. And
Yeah.
secondly, I would say get an accountability partner. You mentioned in your book too about keeping a journal. This whole book of mine is kind of a workbook. So being accountable to the process, and I love having a buddy and having somebody to check in with weekly and just compare notes and keep each other accountable. I think that is a huge, huge success factor. And then finally, just get started. Take the first step. My whole energy is to go. So do one thing, even if it's to, make that one move to buy a resource, whether it's my book or something else, talk to a friend, take a quick look through, your values, do one thing to get started, and then you'll feel that energy to get moving along. Because if we're stagnant and we're just thinking about what's next, we're not getting after it. But if we do one thing, we're getting after it.
Let's go.
Let's
I
go.
love it. So Maisie, tell me about your experience working as a professional woman.
Oh, yes. Okay. So, as a professional woman, I have really loved working in corporate America. I loved working for companies as a consultant, working inside all different organizations. That worked really well when I didn't have kids. I was able to fly around and be part of organizations, cultures, and learn so much. When I ended up having kids, I really appreciated having the flexibility of being my own boss. So that's when I started my organization, my own company. And I would say that as you evolve, you certainly learn as you go. And I've really, truly appreciated collaborations with other organizations, but working independently as well. I would say that the biggest challenge has been to keep your priorities and focus along every part of the path. So of course, priorities shift, but when you have children and you have a relationship with a spouse or partner, making sure you put those people in the mix first is really helpful because when you have your own company, as you know, it can be all encompassing. I used to
Oh,
joke,
yes,
my work is my work and my hobby is also my work, right? Because the extra time gets put into you building your business. But,
for sure.
right. So,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that one. Well, let's take a ride in the time machine and take a look at your vision of retirement.
oh, yes, I love this question. So, I have helped a lot of clients retire, and it has been really enlightening for me to be part of that journey when I'm just collaborating on it, not going through it myself. But it has allowed me to think a lot about what I want my legacy to be, I want my retirement to look like, timing for my retirement, and so forth. So, right now for me, I have established my business so that I can continue working until I don't find it rewarding anymore.
That's
And
awesome.
I know like you, like I can work from many locations and that's been really wonderful. So I have a timeline in mind for my retirement. My husband and I are very diligent about our retirement planning on the financial side because we're both business owners. So
Mm.
um, we have, and I just finished reading your book. And Regina, if people don't have your book, they should definitely get that because you look at all the different elements to check all the boxes when you're thinking about retirement. And that's just wonderful. So, in terms of retirement, I do think a lot about what am I going to be spending my time doing? Who am I going to be with? Where am I going to be? And the financial component is pretty well planned out already for me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And I love that, like me, eventually we can work from anywhere, or you might already be able to do that. I still have one in high school. So
Yes.
eventually working from anywhere sounds like a very, very good thing.
Yes, it's a great thing. I love to be where my clients are, though. I love meeting in person and sharing that space because in my work, so much is a nonverbal reaction to things. Like
Yeah.
you can say things out loud, but the gut feeling of things and sharing space is really helpful. So I really love that personal connection.
I agree. And I love we're getting further and further from COVID and more people are coming back into my office. And I love it because then I get hugs and the facial expressions and you can read a lot more into what's going on. And then the building that relationship is much better in person as well. I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah. So before I wrap it up, I'm going to toss to you our action items because you mentioned a few that I thought were great action items already, but I'm going to let you put it in your own words.
Okay. Thank you. So, I'm all about action. That's why I'm a let's go kind of coach. And I would suggest that everyone who's listening, first of all, you've already gotten started because you're listening to this. So give yourself a pat on the back because investing time in your development and learning is really the starting point. So that's great. So be kind to yourself and have grace there. But make sure you're really clarifying your why because at different phases of your life, your why does change. So why you work changes as you go. Um, your energy around things changes. So I would definitely take time to be in that discovery phase. And you mentioned my four phases: discover, decide, deliver, debrief, and they go around in the circle. And be patient with yourself through these. I would really suggest that you measure. It's hard to measure some of the softer stuff. I know numbers are easier to measure, but when we're talking about personal development, it's hard to measure it. But if we build habits around thinking about this, carving out time to look at this, maybe once a week, taking time for your journal, or meeting with that accountability buddy, that will help us see progress, that we're doing. If we have a collaborative conversation with someone else, they can reflect back to us. So take that time and make sure that you're just acknowledging forward momentum. So I mentioned before, take the first step. This could be your first step, watching this and listening to it. Your first step might be getting one of our books to say, oh, I'd like to have more financial acumen, or what's next in my career, and keep that energy moving forward. I think that forward momentum helps everyone feel really good.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Let's go.
Well, Mazie, thank you so much for being my guest. Oh my gosh, this was so enlightening, so fun, and like so energetic. So I appreciate you joining me today, and I look forward to following you and your book progress.
Thank you. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Yeah, no problem. And thank you, everyone else, for joining us. Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management. You can visit our website at forgewealth.com. You can also see my founder's video to learn more about working with me and how I can attempt to guide you towards your financial independence by visiting my website and scheduling. Remember to subscribe to the podcast. And, of course, we like 5 stars, but we can't, guarantee that we're going to get 5 stars. At the same time, I also want to let you know that we are obviously active on LinkedIn at Regina McCann Hess and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, it's Forge Wealth. My compliance officers want you to know that the information in this show is educational and general in nature and does not take into consideration the listener's personal circumstances. Therefore, it's not intended to be a substitute for specific individualized financial, legal, or tax advice. And to determine which strategies or investments that may be suitable for you, you want to consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a final or financial decision. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member of FINRA SIPC. Investment advice is offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. And Private Advisor Group, Forge Wealth Management are separate entities from each other and from LPL Financial. Our show guests, like Mazie, and their companies are not affiliated with nor endorsed by LPL Financial, Forge Wealth Management, or Private Advisor Group. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a fabulous day.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Women in Wealth podcast. You can watch the founder's video I created for you to learn more about me and how I can guide you towards your financial independence at www.forgewealth.com. The information in this podcast is educational and general in nature and does not take into consideration the listener's personal circumstances. Therefore, it is not intended to be a substitute for specific individualized financial, legal, or tax advice. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a final decision. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, and SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and Forge Wealth Management are separate entities from the LPL Financial. Our show guests and their companies are not affiliated with nor endorsed by LPL Financial, Private Advisor Group, or Forge Wealth Management.